What's up, everybody? Pete here at Stonefly Fish. And before we get started, if you could just go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and we don't have to worry about it. So in the vise, you see I've got the Firehole 523. This happens to be a size 10. Why? Because we are tying the ever popular, ever successful Girdle Bug. So let's get some thread started real quickly. Just got some Uni 6/0, and this happens to be Camel. And why are we starting to thread already? Well, the Girdle Bug, if you've not seen it, is going to have legs coming out the front for some antennae, legs coming out the back for some tails, legs coming out the side just for the fish's enjoyment. So for the legs, I'm going to start with some Grizzly micro legs. This happens to be Rootbeer, and I'm just going to double over on my thread, come up to the shank. And keep in mind, we are going to put a bead on this, so I don't want it a long way back there. That's it. Now it's tied in. I can make sure one leg per side around that hook eye like so, and then I can continue wrapping forward. And it's really difficult. It takes about 3 wraps to get her done, and then we're on to the next move. So as you can see, one leg each side of the eye, and that's pretty much it. So now at this point, I'm going to put just a small whip finish here at the base. So I'm going to come back just a few. Forget those bouncing rubber legs for a second. Just pretend they're not there. And I'm going to throw in just a subtle whip finish. Just going 3 wraps on this one, because all I need to do is disconnect that thread. So, boom. Now, I do have a spawn football bead. This is 6mm gold. I'm going to take this guy out of the vise and put this bead on. Once I've got it on, I'm going back into the vise like so, and you can see now I've got that bead pushed up against those rubber legs and the eye. So I'm going to position them just a little bit better, and now I'm ready to solidify the position of that bead. And for that, got some non-lead 0.015, and I'm not going a bunch of wraps here, 5 or 6, and I'm going to trim out both the front and the back and use the curve of my wire scissor, also known as a cuticle scissor, to just smooth those ends over. And all that does, aside from position the bead and hold it still, is when you round these over, you're not going to cut your thread as soon as you start it. Slick that as far toward the back of that bead as you can, and we'll just continue to tie down now. So start our thread again, and just make sure you don't catch those front legs. All right. Like any other time that we put some weighted wire behind a bead, I'm going to come up now and position and really solidify those wraps. And a little patience goes a long way with dealing with these legs. If you're new to the game, legs are great. They are a fish catcher, but they can be a little unruly when you're learning to tie. So just be patient. And as far as where you can find this magical bug and other ones, I'm kind of tying out of the hairline kit. They have a booklet and they list a bunch of great flies, and this is one of them. So for any of you out there who have ordered a kit and you tie a couple flies and then you start searching because, oh man, I want to tie, the next great salmon fly or whatever it might be, don't give up on these bugs. It's important to get a base of knowledge and skill and muscle memory in your hands and everything else. So don't just quit after 1 or 2 of those flies in that book. Really have at it. All right, so now you see I'm at the rear section of this hook, and guess what? We get to put on another Rootbeer leg. Same deal, just headed the opposite direction of those antennae. So double it over our thread, bring it to the hook shank, and solidify with a couple wraps. Make sure these are coming off 1 per side, and we can tie those down. Now at this point, make sure that these are on the side of the shank versus on the top. And why? Well, because once we get these tied in, we do want them going one per side. There we go, like so. All right, so yes, these legs look unruly and everything else. And you could trim them if you know the exact length and you've tied this about 50 times. Until then, go ahead and tie these legs in full and then trim everything at once at the end. So now for our next element, and this is the entire body, if you will. We've got some hairline variegated chenille, and this is medium black coffee, one of my favorites. If you guys do a little observation though in your own water, find out what the dominant stonefly color is and tie this in those. So you see I've stripped some of the fibers off of the core and use that to grab, if you will, like so, and then simply tie it down all the way back to your previous thread wraps, like so. Get it tied in nice and snug and nothing to it. Legs everywhere. All right, so now I'm looking for the midpoint of the body on this hook shank, right about there, I'd say, halfway between the tail and that bead. And now we've got one last leg, but this one I am going to cut in half, and I'm going to use 1/2 of a leg per side. And if I were tying on like a size 2 or size 1, I would definitely leave these legs full, but since this is a size 10, I know I can go ahead and cut these now and get by with it. And all I'm doing at this point is coming up to my side, a couple wraps, solidify in the middle. Now I'm going to go one in front and one behind, and then one more right in the middle. I'll show you on your side. And get this leg folded over the thread, and then I'm coming at you. So now I'll shorten my thread up a little bit, get it on your side of the shank, and let it go. A couple wraps right in the middle, like we did on my side. Pull that front leg back, get a wrap in front. Pull the back legs forward, get one wrap behind them, and now right down the middle for our last leg wrap, and we are done with all that fun. Thread is behind the bead once again, and you can see there are legs everywhere on this. All right, all that's left now is to take our chenille, get these legs out of the way as best you can, and simply start to wrap. Take your time, be patient with all those legs. It's worth it. And all we do is wrap the rest of this up. It's a simple fly once you know a few techniques, and man, is this a fish catching machine. All right, so now you see I'm at the rear section of the middle legs. Now I'm going to take one wrap in between, right down the middle, pull those forward legs back just a little, and now as I come in front of them, everything's going to stay now for me. A couple more wraps, really fill in this gap like so. Let's see how she looks. Pretty good. I don't think we want to force that other wrap through there, so let's call this the last wrap. And now just simply tie off very securely. At the same time that I'm pulling down on my thread, I'm pulling slightly upward on this chenille to make sure that thread is biting all the way through and solidifying itself. All right, a few wraps in front. At this point, go ahead and trim out the chenille. Get those loose fibers out of there. And making a little neat thread neck right there behind the bead. And we're ready for the whip finish already. Pretty simple fly, but it is important that you learn it, not just for the techniques, but so that you can go out and fish with confidence using a fly that has been already proven for you. You don't have to try and figure anything out on this. All right, so there's my whip finish. Let me get in here and cut this thread out. And we can put some cement on this guy. So for the cement, I've got some Loon Hardhead Clear. And I'm just gonna brush back that chenille slightly, use the back curvature of the bead, and sort of slide that cement onto the thread wraps. And I'm trying to just avoid as much of that chenille as I can. Is it gonna hurt anything? No, just your feelings. You'll get over it. All right, so now you see the fly is done, it's tied, but there's still something missing. If we tried to tie this on and throw it, we'd have nothing but fouled rubber legs inside that hook. So what do we look for? Roughly a little over a body length. So I'm gonna use just the hook or shank length. I'm gonna use that as a measure and go cut, turn it to my side, or what was your side, cut. Keep in mind that roughly that length for the antennae and for the tail. Now we have a properly cut and sized girdle bug, and the fish are going to be so happy. So there you have it, guys. Girdle bug, nothing to it, rubber legs and some chenille. About as easy as it gets and about as effective as it gets. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, again, please hit like and subscribe. If you have any comments, leave them below and we will get to them. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the water.